Welcome back, Design Junkies, to Mechanical Engineering Made Simple. Today we are launching a deep dive into lean engineering principles, but we're looking way beyond the usual factory floor stuff. We're really digging into how lean applies to product development, the whole enterprise structure.
That's right. And for you, the early stage engineer listening, the core idea of lean, getting rid of waste, really focusing hard on value creation and, well, speeding up cycle time. Fundamentally, it's about enabling better engineering, less risky engineering. Our mission today really is to show you why those decisions you make right now, like in the conceptual design phase, they're actually creating the biggest risks and locking in the biggest costs way down the line.
Yeah, and we're going to unpack some concepts that might feel a bit backwards at first, like how leveling out production volumes for your suppliers using something called Heijunka is actually one of your most powerful tools, even if your day job is all digital design, right? The big picture is lean aims to create value for the customer. It's not just about slashing internal costs.
Okay, so let's first just define our playground here. What exactly is product development PD? Our sources define it pretty broadly. It's basically the whole set of activities, starting from when someone sees a market opportunity, all the way through until the product is actually made, sold, and delivered successfully.
When you put it like that, it sounds less like, creative bursts and more like a huge information management job.
Precisely, yeah. If you think about it over time, product development is fundamentally about gathering information efficiently, and, this is key, eliminating risk. Think of 4 things moving over a project timeline. Time moves forward, information builds up, risk hopefully goes down, and eventually value realized goes up. PD is really disciplined risk reduction.
And risk in design isn't just one thing, is it? It comes in like different flavors of uncertainty.
Absolutely. It's helpful to categorize this uncertainty. There's the simple lack of knowledge stuff that just don't know yet. Then there's lack of definition, that sort of fuzzy target we often start with. And then the difference between your known unknowns, things you need to figure out, and the really nasty ones, the unknown unknowns, the surprises.
Okay, let's dig into this next bit because it feels super important for anyone in design, especially early on. Why do those decisions made when you're basically just sectioning ideas matter so much more than, say, the thousands of tiny decisions later in detailed design?
Well, it comes down to this nonlinear trade-off. It's a balance, right, between how easy it is to change the design versus how much of the total life cycle cost, the LCC, you've already sort of committed to.
Yeah.
In the very early stages conceptual, preliminary design, the ease of change is almost 100%. Realize a material won't work, swap it out. Relatively easy.
But that life cycle cost commitment, that shoots up really fast at the same time, doesn't it?
Rockets up, yeah. While the ease of change only dips a bit during preliminary design, that LCC committed cost curve just takes off. You haven't spent most of the money yet, not even close. But your early choices, the architecture, they've already locked in most of the total cost the product will ever see. Everything from materials to maintenance, even disposal.
Okay, that makes sense. Like if I pick some super exotic composite early on, or a really tricky machine part,
Right.
I've just committed the project to paying that premium for potentially decades. But wait, if LCC commitment jumps so fast, wouldn't that tempt teams to just put off decisions, delay commitment as long as possible? Couldn't that cause its own kind of waste?
Yeah, that's exactly the tension Lean tries to manage. Delaying commitment is what traditional places often do, but that just leads to endless iteration waste and blows up the schedule. Lean pushes for disciplined, smart choices up front, because avoiding the commitment is often way more costly than committing wisely early on. Once you get into detailed design, making changes gets dramatically harder. Ease of change might drop to 80%, maybe even 66% later. Those early choices really hammer home why you need disciplined, lean thinking right from the start.
Okay, so we get the huge impact, the risk of those early decisions. But avoiding that risk takes more than just, good intentions. It needs a system, a toolkit. We usually think of the Toyota production system, TPS, and maybe Kaizen, continuous improvement.
Kaizen's great, it's important, but it's only one piece. TPS is really a whole toolbox for getting rid of waste, or muda. And we can totally apply these principles to design work, even if we never touch a factory floor.
All right, let's break down some key tools from that kit, but frame them for a designer, not a factory manager.
Okay, let's start with stability. There's Heijunka. This is all about leveling out production volume and the mix of products. It basically stabilizes the rhythm of the whole operation, the supply chain too. And that minimizes design chaos caused by unpredictable demand signals bouncing around.
And what about stopping mistakes before they even happen? That seems crucial for designers.
Right, that brings us to the quality side. We have Jidoka. Think of it as designing systems that automatically detect problems and stop. Built-in error flags. If something goes wrong, the system stops itself and signals, hey, problem here. And that pairs with poka-yoke. That's basically mistake proofing, foolproof prevention. For a designer, poka-yoke means building constraints right into the product or process so mistakes are physically impossible, like, making a connector asymmetrical so it only plugs in the right way.
Ah, okay, that's a very direct, practical design example. What about flexibility? How does that fit in?
That's Heijunka. It means flexible task assignment. Being able to shift people and resources around quickly to deal with changes in volume or to improve productivity. For a design team, this could mean having cross-trained engineers who can jump between different subsystems depending on where the bottleneck is right now. And finally, there's 5S, cleanliness, order, discipline. In an engineering context, that's more about things like solid data management, clear version control, keeping the digital workspace tidy.
So sticking with this idea of cutting muda in the design office, where does this waste reduction show up most powerfully in terms of components and the overall product structure?
This is where lean really gives you a competitive edge. Design reuse, or multi-use parts. It's all about standardizing the underlying bits and pieces. Stop reinventing the wheel. Eliminate the waste of creating unique solutions when a perfectly good one already exists.
Sounds like common sense almost, but the examples you mentioned show the impact can be enormous.
Oh, it's huge. Think about commercial jets. Using the same main engine starter across different models, say a 747-400, a 767, suddenly the airline needs way fewer spare parts to service those planes. Big savings, simply logistics. Or another really powerful one, military helicopters. Getting something like 85% part commonality between the UH-1Y and the AH-1Z models, that radically cuts down the maintenance crew size, the spare parts needed in the field. Massive operational advantage.
Wow, yeah, huge cost avoidance and efficiency gains just from standardizing parts early on. But if we're really serious about lean, we can't just stop at the parts list, right? We need to look at the whole organization creating the value. This takes us to the lean extended enterprise idea.
Exactly. Lean thinking can't just live on the factory floor or even just within the product development team. It has to stretch out, horizontally, you could say, to include the whole lean extended enterprise suppliers, partners, and, yeah, absolutely, critically, the customers too.
Okay, but when the scope gets that wide, defining who actually matters, who the stakeholders are, becomes really important. The lean definition needs to focus on value creation, I guess.
It does. For the lean enterprise, a stakeholder is basically any group or individual who directly or indirectly affects or is affected by how well the enterprise creates value. See how that shifts the focus? It's not just about profit for shareholders, it's about optimizing the value streams themselves.
In figuring out which stakeholders are most relevant, their salience, you use three main attributes. These govern how you interact with them.
That's right. Those three are power, legitimacy, and criticality. So power is just their ability to influence things, could be coercive, could be based on resources, or even symbolic. Legitimacy is about whether their relationship or their claim is seen as appropriate, as valid. And criticality is about timing. Is their claim urgent? Is it super important for the enterprise to keep running? Managing all these complex relationships is, well, it's central to making lean work across the board.
That complexity sounds like exactly why collaboration is often so difficult. We have that great case study looking at engineering integration, moving from IC to RTCE. Integrated concurrent engineering established the idea of getting everyone together, but real-time concurrent engineering, RTCE, really forced the doing it together part.
Yeah, ICE, which started at JPL back in the mid-90s, was foundational, but moving to RTCE was seriously ambitious. It shifted the whole focus from just talking about the design in meetings to actually doing the design work together simultaneously. All the design data flowed through a central server, so every single designer had the latest current information instantly.
And the technical results were pretty mind-blowing, weren't they? That cycle time drop.
Absolutely radical, yeah. RTCE got them to a point where they could create complex new spacecraft designs in maybe 4 hours, which used to take them something like 4 weeks. They could explore thousands of design options in real time because that whole back-and-forth iteration loop was just gone.
Okay, that's the amazing technical success story. But where did the organizational friction come in? What stopped it from being fully adopted?
The people problem. Always comes back to that, doesn't it? Functional managers, the heads of different departments, they were still incentivized to optimize their own little piece of the puzzle, their subsystem, not the whole system. So for instance, when internal R&D money got tight, these managers just weren't willing to use their limited funds to support what they saw as some other manager's pet project, even if it benefited the whole program. That lack of aligned goals, the lack of clear funding authority, it created huge resistance. Silos went back up.
So the core lesson is pretty stark. Siloed thinking just kills systemic efficiency, whether it's in the design office or on the shop floor. Which brings us neatly back full circle to that systemic thinking lean demands, especially for stabilizing the supply chain with Heijunka.
Right. We need to really grasp the basic problem in most traditional supply chains. Demand variability amplification. You might know it as the Bullwhip Effect. It happens because every single step in the chain is busy trying to optimize its own little world. Local optimization.
Can you give us a quick, concrete example of how that local focus messes things up upstream?
Sure. Imagine a trucking planner. Their main job metric is probably minimizing trucking cost per mile. Right, so they have a strong incentive to only send out full trucks. That means they batch orders together, they minimize the mix of products on the truck to reduce handling. Now, that's great for trucking efficiency, locally optimal. But that decision sends this jerky, amplified demand signal upstream to manufacturing. Suddenly, manufacturing sees these huge, infrequent orders instead of a smooth flow, causes chaos, inventory balloons, just massive waste.
Right, so the variability forced on the downstream folks makes the upstream operations constantly scramble to catch up with these big lumpy demands. Synchronized planning goes out the window.
Exactly. And the solution is value delivery Heijunka. Instead of letting everyone do their own local optimization dance, the enterprise pushes a globally leveled signal down through the whole supply chain. Replenishments get supplied with a steady volume and a steady mix. For example, maybe the goal is always 4 trucks a day to maintain utilization. You send 4 trucks, adjusting the mix slightly and predictably, even if daily demand wiggles a bit.
Okay, so that stability, that consistent leveled signal, lets the upstream departments finally breathe and stabilize their operations.
Precisely. That steady drumbeat allows upstream operations finishing, materials prep, whatever, to globally optimize their work. It dramatically cuts the inventory needed everywhere because things are just much better synchronized. The sort of conceptual goal, the end game of applying Heijunka across the supply chain is to maybe even enable a ship every part every day approach. By smoothing out all that replenishment variability in both volume and mix, you stabilize the whole ecosystem.
Wow. Okay, this has been quite a journey. We went from the huge impact of your very first design sketch and that LCC commitment trap, all the way through the need for system-wide collaboration like RTCE, even with its challenges. And finally landing on the incredible power of Heijunka to tame variability way beyond just the factory.
Yeah, and the main takeaway for you, the designer listening, is probably this. Really applying lean thinking across the whole enterprise forces a pretty fundamental shift in how you see competition. If you're in a traditional company, you tend to think about competing firm against firm. But lean enterprises, well, they have to achieve their advantage by shifting the whole game. It's not about your firm anymore. It's about the capability and efficiency of your entire production network. That network, including your suppliers, your partners, your customers, that's your real source of lasting value.
Until the next equation, Design Junkies. Tune in every morning at 11 a.m.